welcome to episode 74 of my POA podcast, Black Hand and Beyond. If you're keeping track at home, this is our 8th Tuesday in a row in the calendar year of 2024. We have not missed an episode this year. I don't know if I can keep that up. I wish I could in a perfect world. If I can do one tonight, I probably can do one most nights because we had a cool weekend, but a long weekend. As most of you know, the National Convention was held this weekend in Indianapolis. It wasn't quite the traditional convention. We'll get back to that later in the show, but it was still cool. A lot of members came. All the directors were present, and the new executive director, Bill Harless, was there. Of course, the office staff was there too, so we got to talk to them and check out some things, visit the Hall of Fame room, which is the board meeting room. So that's always cool to see all that stuff when it's in Indianapolis at what I call the mothership, you know, the home office. So it did snow on us a little bit, but this is the recap show, but we're also going to be talking about some other things. There was a lot to discuss at the convention. We had a pretty good productive board meeting and compromises and stuff like that. I think we all got along pretty well. We have 12 different people thrown into one room from all over the country and all different trains of thoughts. So anytime we can get together and discuss something we all agree on, which is the love for POAC and the pony breed, I think it's a great thing. So hello, Tracy. Good evening to you. Hello from Australia. Gay, you watch every week now. That's great. You and Tracy are two of my staunch watchers there, great viewers. Terry usually comes on here too in a minute or two. I apologize, I was 2 minutes late. I literally had to do an eCam update about at 6:24, so it took like 3 or 4 minutes. Hello, Monica. My wife's watching. So Monica was with me at the convention. She's really getting involved in POAs. As you all know, her and Stella are doing sponsorships. Well, actually, Monica and I are, but Stella was at the convention too. People that saw her at the Futurity, you know, we bought her from Tina up there, New Horizon Farm in Wisconsin. Got her at the Futurity in Illinois. So I always say when she does something I don't like, I call her a cheesehead because she is from Wisconsin. But everybody who sees Stella falls in love with her, and some different people that had never met her, seen her at the convention. And when we go to Congress, there'll be another group of people that see her. So she should have her own TikTok or TikToks or Facebook page because she is a cutie. So Jan's here. First time I've ever caught this live. Please say who that was. Facebook user, I can't see who that is because you're not on eCam Live, which is fine. Melissa Andering's watching. Cool. I just want to say, you know, so many people volunteer to keep POAC going, and how it's been so great. It started in 1954, and big events started in the late 50s, and they've added events. You know, we lost the sale a few years ago just because things changed, but we still have the Congress. They added the convention in '88, and it's still going. It's not the convention it used to be. Danny Burton. Okay, Bruton. All right. Thanks, Monica, for saying that. Or Danny, yep. And thanks, Tracy, too. So anyway, the convention, you know, it's not quite what it used to be, and I don't want to blame the membership, but if we don't have participation and things change over time and people have different priorities and stuff, but if we don't have enough people attending the convention, we really can't afford to get a nice host hotel and rooms, a banquet room and little side rooms and stuff like that. And when it was in Indianapolis all those years I went, I think it was at the same, was it the Crown Plaza or whatever? It was 6 years in a row in Indianapolis when I was on the board last time. And I never got to go any exotic places while I was on the board. I always had to go there, and most of it was at the old office up in the loft. So it wasn't the cool building we have now. That was my last meeting. My last convention was at that building that it was at this year. But if we can get more members to attend and stuff like that, we do have the banquet award there. So a lot of show families do show up on Saturday night or Saturday. They come in and attend a banquet and get their awards and stuff. So that's cool. But then we can maybe get some places to try to have a nice big convention. This was a cool convention. We just had lack of meetings. We didn't have the committee meetings. We did have committee reports. Bill presented all the reports in a booklet. We had a nice booklet and stuff. And but with an executive director now, Bill in place, he can also help to try to find better places. There's a group, Ricky and some people are trying to maybe get a bid from, I think Tracy Phyllis helping her too, try to get a bid from Vegas. But because there's a lot of stuff for kids to do, ironically, there, we want to drive kids to the convention. It's just that even Vegas, they want so much for just the food and stuff. It was kind of eye-opening to find, yeah, they'd give you rooms and they'd give you a heck of a deal because they want you to come and spend money, but then you still got to pay a big amount for something. It's a whopping amount, and it's just tough for us because we are, we don't have a lot of members or a lot of numbers participating right now. Speaking of members, we have about 1,700. We found out we have all different types of memberships. We have what we call the regular, which is like the head of the household. We have lifetime. We have lifetime from different events they did over the years, fundraisers, and then we have Hall of Fame lifetime memberships. We have judges that are members without voting rights, judges with voting rights. Of course, just that don't even count all the youth and family, and then some of the people that attend our shows and are a big part of our club that may not be a member. They might, some people are in the families, extended families. We consider them a really big part of POA, but they might not necessarily have to have a membership because they might not be breeding or they might not be showing their self. So if you actually show, you need a membership, of course. You need to have one. So 23,000 for food. That's right, Tracy. That's a lot of drumsticks, ain't it? That's a lot of food, but that's some of the quotes they were getting. And again, we have people working hard, volunteers like Tracy Fila. I always say your name wrong, I'm sorry, but Tracy from Washington, I serve on the board with her. Ricky from Kansas, Ricky Whitby Clark, is always active trying to get bids for different things. So when you look at things and wonder why is this going on and why is that going on, well, the membership presents different things to the board and now can contact Bill and present things to him. If they want to see things happen, just bring it up. And then, of course, it'll get voted on. But that's how these things magically happen. It's just not like the show in Tulsa all these years lately. Well, other places can get bid on. It's just we need bids. Right now for Congress, I think there's 1.5 proposals because Tulsa isn't set in stone yet for the next few years. It is for 24, but we're going to look at that bid that isn't quite done yet for the future years. And then I believe Cloverdale, Indiana is the only place with an official bid for 2025. So I know people have looked at Nebraska and people have looked at the American Royal in Kansas, but I'm not sure there's been official bids because there's a lot of things to put together comparing apples to apples. You got some places you have to provide your own compressor. Some places pays way more. You got to pay way more to drag the arena. And then you have the show people we have to get. So different things like that. So you just got to keep all that in mind when we're putting all this stuff together. Have the convention at the Fort Worth Stock Show. Well, that's a good idea. We probably could do that. We could look into that and see if we could get, maybe there's even rooms right at the facility. I've never been there. That's on my bucket list, and I'm really close now. But it's really close in date, and that is kind of a good idea. Keep in mind, too, when it's not in Indianapolis, and I love to go to different places. I went to Sioux Falls, St. Louis, Reno. I missed the one in Minnesota and the two in Wisconsin, unfortunately. I think there was two at the Dells. I didn't want to scare people swimming anyway, so I didn't go to those two. But it's been I went to Nashville, but I think it's been in Florida and Texas before. But the thing is that we also have to keep in mind when it's not in Indianapolis, we have to get all those great awards and prizes shipped to wherever it's going. And I realize people from Indiana are going, but then we're using those people again over and over, tirelessly using those people to haul the awards and pack that stuff and make sure that it's all taken care of. And that brings me to another thing. At the convention, at the banquet, Scott and Charlene Shingleton, they work their butts off in this club. They really do. They live close to Indianapolis, and that's fortunate for them, so they can be close to the office and help out with a lot of things. But when you see them, give them a thank you, because they do work really hard. They brought the food in from a caterer, and it probably saved us a little money because they hauled it in and then they hauled it away, and everybody tried to help out. But I mean, Scott's hard to keep up with. He's running around all the time. He's a good worker, great worker, and they've helped out this club by just their volunteer efforts, along with a lot of other people. I mean, this show could be just the volunteer show tonight. All the people that volunteer all across the country, from grandpas or people, friends opening gates at shows, to high school, junior high kids helping judges, being ring stewards. Sometimes they get a little something from a club. Sometimes they're just doing it for experience, all the way up to people like I just mentioned that are doing major things, and plus all the board of directors who volunteer our time and money to go to these events. Charlie Phillips says hello. Hello, Charlie. Let me scroll through some of these things. I might have missed it. Tracy is saying some stuff. Amazing awards. I'm going to get to that too. I did post some pictures of the awards. They were beautiful awards again. Again, somebody has to pick those out and contact the companies and get prices and stuff. Now with Bill as the executive director, slash type CEO person in the office, he can do that stuff to take the ease off some of the volunteers. So that'll be great. And he'll be sitting in the office all week, and he's a paid position, so he does that. He'll do that stuff and love to do it. So he's been in the office for 73 days when we met. Now it's been a few days longer than that, and he's off and running. He's got a lot of great ideas. I'm very impressed with Mr. Harless. I'm glad he's the executive director of the POAC. I think promotion and management is his two strong points, and I think you guys, when you get to meet him, like at Congress, people will get to meet him again, and then at the Futurity, a whole nother set of people that just come to the Futurity and maybe not other events will get to see him. So, and you'll get to hear some of his ideas, and he's not shy about his ideas and his enthusiasm for the POAC, and he don't like us to call the POAC small. We're not small, he says, which he's right. In numbers we are, maybe in stature we are, but we have our own building in Indianapolis, and it's paid for. Thank you to the membership for that. And we're not that small. We are a national breed that's been around since 1954. That's something to be proud of. So the money goes out for Congress is mind-boggling. That's right, Tracy. The budget for Congress, I was showing it today to my boss here that runs, a multi-million-dollar car company, a dealership, and he's like, what do you mean this and that? And I said, well, we put on these shows, and it costs a lot to buy these awards and pay for the show people that come and put on these shows and judges. And it was just someone that's not a non-horse person. It was mind-boggling to him. So you hit that on the head, Tracy. So let's see. Yeah, we covered that. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody that said hello. So sometimes I seem to miss Charlie's hello, and I almost did tonight. But there it is. Someone just said hello, and someone said hello to all. So did you guys get your year-end magazine? It was kind of the talk of the convention because it came right before. We got ours. Monica and I got both of ours on Wednesday. And you know how it is when you're going on a trip. You're running around, getting ready, prepping and stuff. And it came we got the mail just as we were leaving to fill up the Durango and do some other things. I'm like, man, I wanted to look at that thing. I'm just looking at it like this. Well, here it is right here. I'm looking at it going, I can't read you right now. I'll get to you later. And Monica was laughing at me, but we had to run around and do things. And then later that night, I got to look at it a little bit. And then, of course, the convention hit. So I still haven't memorized it yet. I like to go through and try to learn as many people as I can, especially since I haven't been as active showing or breeding the last 10 years or so, and now I'm getting back into it like on the board and stuff, and trying to promote this thing. So I want to learn as many people as I can, and Tammy's packed about as much information as you can in this beautiful magazine. There's SLS Awesome All Night, nice cover, Shannon. They call him River, of course. He's a history-making stallion down in Texas, so read about him. I thought there was nice write-ups by Tommy, the president, and by Bill, and just a lot of ads, paid for ads by our membership. And then I have an article in here, and then one about the promoting this deal, the POA podcast. So please check that out. There's my little article there. I just slapped that together. That was actually a Hall of Fame nomination and a story I wrote about 20 years ago, and I combined the two of them and then added some new stuff, and I slipped that in there. You know how deadlines go. I'm always up against the deadline like most people are when you write or try to compose something. So anyway, also congratulations to Campbell Cornelius. She did well. I'd say #1 pony in the nation, and it was cool to see her and all the smiling faces and giggling faces and stuff like that. The kids looked really happy at the convention getting their awards, and as Tracy alluded to, the belt buckles in particular, they're originals. They're really nice. Check that out if you see pictures. A lot of people got them, so you should be seeing pictures of them on Facebook. Very nice awards, and then on down all the awards. The top 6 were cool awards. I think 6 was a hat, and 4th was the one I really wanted. It was a blue. You could use it for judging or whatever, put a notebook in or whatever you wanted to do. It was like, I'm going to show my age, but it looked something like a Trapper Keeper when we, Tracy and my age, so something like that. But anyway, if you placed, I think 4th, you got one of those, 4th or 5th. Yeah, there's also a computer bag, and then there was a blanket or whatever, because people that were flying, they kept handing these blankets to Tracy Keene, and she's like, I can't fly with all these blankets. So that was pretty funny. And there was some other people flying too. I think Tracy from Washington. And I said, well, Tracy couldn't do it, so in Florida, you probably won't be able to take them all back to Washington either. But it was a good time at the convention. Again, we got a lot done, and I got a little list of things here to talk about. And before I get in that part of the convention, was talking about the sponsorships, because now our next big national thing, besides the East World, of course, we have the East and West Worlds that'll be coming up this summer, early summer, but the Congress, Congress has been going on since 1959. Big part of the success now is just the people that come and show and the people that help put it on, but also your sponsorships. That show would not make as much money as it did and be as successful and be able to have all the awards and have the nice Megatron screen up there and all that and the live streaming if it wasn't for people donating money. So, and that's what my wife Monica is doing this year. She's just getting involved into POAs really for the first year or two big time. She's listened to me for 10, 12 years ramble about bloodlines, and I can rap off 10, 12 generations in a row and tell you who won grand in 1963. But Monica's the one that's getting really involved in this stuff. She wants to volunteer. She's been on a lot of boards and nonprofit things over the years in her professional life, and now she's pretty much retired, and so the pressure's on me. But anyway, that's personally. But on the sponsorships, this is Monica's baby, and she's doing a great job on it. Diana did a great job, of course, with it, and she passed the torch to Monica, so Diane could just concentrate on the futurity, and I think she's pretty much got all those done already. But we're new at it, so we're trying as hard as we can. I think we have over a third done. Monica's working hand in hand with Joy. She's also been talking a lot with Bill and, of course, Diane, but Joy in the office, Monica and her are got the spreadsheet going, so you can see it on the National Congress page. She posted the show bill today, and she has some stuff marked out, either like highlighted or red marked out. You might not even tell what class it was. That means that class is taken care of. It's been sponsored. We have a lot of stuff sponsored. Like I say, I think there's maybe some grands out there. And you also got to watch, because certain clubs traditionally sponsor things, and then some people will come in and want to sponsor that and not realize it. So, and then the end caps and everything, we're going to try our best to make everything perfect. We want this show to go perfect, everybody to be happy. Of course, it's July and it's going to be hot, so we always have that. But we want everything done by May 20th, everything paid and everybody happy, and all the classes sponsored. Right now, I will tell you, I even wrote down the names. Gymkhana back in the day, we call them games, timed events, speed classes, whatever you want to call it. If you look at it, we don't have enough sponsors for those right now. We're lacking. And maybe the people that really support those classes and sponsor them are holding back. But I just glanced at the list about an hour ago, and I only seen 1 or 2 classes sponsored in games. So if you're a big games person and that's what you love, that's your desire, you grew up in POAs and you had a famous gamer or you were known for that, please send in a sponsorship. It's only $150 a class. And of course, some things are specially different things. The high points are basically all covered through Justin and Kennedy's efforts with the saddles and all that stuff, the saddle raffle. Congratulations to Janelle Burton, by the way, for winning that beautiful working saddle. I think it's a Harris. Again, I'm not a big, into saddles and all that, but it was a nice saddle. I know she's happy to get that. I know she bought a lot of tickets to win that, and all that money goes back to sponsorships. So thank you to everybody involved there. So I think I covered sponsorships pretty good, but kind of on that line too. You can honor somebody, like I say, a family member. We in the Minneapolis Star Tribune in November, when my dad passed away, the last line in it said, "In lieu of flowers, memorials can be sent to the POAC home office," and people have done that. People sent them in that I didn't even know did, and then a couple people sent them to us, made out to the POAC. So that's cool. Thank you for doing that. And or you can just say a horse, honor of a horse, honor of grandpa, whatever, $150. It'll be up on the big screen, and they'll mention it twice. It'll be in the booklet. And if you want to give more than that, and you can get into the end caps and the stalls and the banners and the page in the program, so the show program. So please contact Monica for all that stuff. Okay, we got thumbs up. Online auction for tables will be announced later this week, and we'll start on March 1st. Okay, that's my wife saying that. I missed that about your dad. What a great way to honor a great man. Thank you, Tracy, for saying that. And yeah, quite a few people actually sent in memorials in his name. So some earmarked it for certain things, like the new Heritage Foundation deal, because they know that's what I'm really into. And then some went to the scholarship, and some's going to go to Congress. So that's kind of getting spread around to about 3 different things. The club is in financial good shape. The board of directors that I came into, I'm the only new director. They've done a great job the last few years, really managing the money. And they had to kind of whittle away at some things, like that we didn't have an executive director or CEO for a few years, and then we went down to 1 magazine and no sale and things like that. Made the convention smaller, but that's all put money in the kitty now. Because the shows are still pretty popular. Registrations are up. That's great news. They're up by about 20%. I actually have some numbers somewhere about that, but it might be hard for me to find them now. But okay, we registered 415 in 2015. That's how many was registered. This year, we registered 412. So you think, oh, we're down 3, right, from 2015? Here's the kicker. From 2016 to 2022, the POAC registered less than 400 a year. That's not just babies. That's counting all tentative registrations, I believe. And so we got an uptake. We definitely do. We're up 20% from last year. So that's cool for sure. So keep on registering those babies. Again, the economy has a lot to do with that. We're not the only breed that went way down. All the major breeds did. All the horse industry went down. So after '08, after the bubble, it usually takes 10 years or so to do a rebound. We've seen this before. We've seen it in in the 80s even. So, but it is good to see we're up in another new number, and haven't been in that number since 2015. So that's good to know. So let's see, I covered about the convention being in Vegas possibly, but you never know. We can get other bids too. If you got a location, that Fort Worth idea might be great, but people might be too busy at the show too. But you could do it after the show or before. But then I'm just thinking, people with ponies, where would they put them? But that's all stuff you got to work out and think about. So we are going to have a board meeting by phone next week because we had so much to discuss in a work day from 8 to 5. We were longer than 5 on Friday, but we put in a full day at the board. We ate lunch there sitting at the board table, and anyway, we got to discuss a few things and settle up a few things about Congress, and that's going to happen next week. We're just waiting on some more information so on that. Some exciting news. The Schuylkill Valley POAC, if you used to get the magazines, or are you from that area, used to show, Schuylkill Valley was basically Pennsylvania club. It's in Pennsylvania, and that was reinstated at this board meeting, so that's very cool. It was brought as a proposal. Bev brought it up at the board meeting. Of course, it's been in the works for a while. They're going to try to have a show as soon as this fall already, which is really cool. the board gave them, in the POAC, gave them some stuff for shows to try to get them back going. That's cool. If you have a club that needs reinstated, that's easier than starting a whole new charter, a whole new club. So if you have a small club that's inactive or dormant and you want to get it back going, contact Bill. Contact Bill Harless at the office during working hours and let him know, and he'll get it to the proper people, and we'll try to grow this thing. I keep talking about growth. People get sick of me saying growth. I've even had people say, what do you mean by growth? Well, we need to keep growing. We have so many people that want to get into POAs, but then we also have people that leave because that's just the nature of the beast. On the bad side, sometimes people get upset or whatever because we do have a very thick rule book. And we do have a lot of rules. You got to be a certain height. You got to be a certain color. So sometimes feelings get hurt and people may leave that way. But the natural thing of it is just people age out. The kids age out, and sometimes it's hard to keep the family back in. But I will say our retention is fairly good. We have a lot of heritage members. What I mean by that is people like me that was my family bred POAs, and then I showed up into my 30s and was still active even in my 40s. Now here I am just chatting about POAs and being on the board of directors at 50. People like Tracy, people like David Spencer, Dean Damon, Judy Katzenberger, all those people are already second generation, and some of them have had grandkids in it already, of course. So that's a good thing about POAs is the heritage and the foundation we have. And that leads me to one of my passion projects. I'm the head of the Heritage Foundation Committee, and it's been dormant for a few years, but now that I'm active again in, might as well say, politics or promotion, trying to promote POAs, because I have nothing to gain by it. I don't own a POA, I don't show POAs anymore, I don't breed POAs, so it's just my passion and love of POAs is why I do stuff like this. But the Heritage Foundation, we're going to be talking about that a lot to come in the future, the next few years. We're going to try to actually get a foundation set up. And one of the goals, of course, is going to be for a museum. We definitely need a museum, a breed that's been around since 1954, a club and breed, and 56,000 registered POAs, and all the thousands and thousands of kids that have shown POAs. Just think of the reel going on big screen TVs. I can picture it now, and just all the pictures of kids that have shown. And then, of course, the breeders and all the other stuff and the ponies that we can show. So I have a vision for that. I know Tracy wants to be very involved in that because she is a historian too, Tracy Keene down in Florida. So, but the POAC Heritage Foundation, I'm just going to read this. Their mission is acquiring and developing items of historical value to the pony of the Americas, with the goal to preserve and promote the heritage of POAC. So of course we want to preserve the past. We're trying to preserve the past, but it also promotes the future. So the Heritage Foundation just isn't about the past, it's also about the future. And there's more than just the museum that will be involved in this. It'll be a lot of other things. If it takes off and can grow, just like the scholarship fund has grown so much over the years, I have magazines from the 60s and 70s talking about starting the scholarship foundation. It's been going, or just the scholarship program. It's been going all these years, and now it's at a point, thanks to the past board of directors, that, it's almost sustainable. But like last year, those tables out at the Futurity in Gordyville, I think it was $1,700 or $1,800 was raised off of silent auction items, baskets and those Breyer ponies. I know I came home with some of those, and brushes and whatever, and some really nice homemade stuff. I donated a couple books. All that stuff helps. And now that scholarship fund is growing so big and getting an interest in a CD that someday it's going to sustain itself. Well, 20 years from now or so, I hope the foundation can do that, the Heritage Foundation. We don't even have it in place yet, but a museum will be in place long before 20 years. We need to be about 5 years out or so on a museum. And I have a lot of stuff just myself, or I have enough stuff to have a museum right now. And of course, it just like all other museums, and you have a caretaker, it would be evolving. As time goes on, you get other stuff and things like that. So we were talking about it at conventions, sitting around at the banquet and stuff, and Tracy from Washington mentioned earrings. She had some earrings because I was telling Tracy Keene about a watch I had that came from Karen in Pennsylvania, and it's still in the box. Her mom had got it when Karen was a kid. Her name's Karen Bent now. You guys know her. She's bred some good POAs, and she's sent me things, awards, and different things. Of course, not all things are going to make it to the museum, and that's up to whoever, a committee or whatever to pick through that. Speaking of a committee, I did ask 8 members of POAC to be on the committee. They all said, oh, yes, within 2 hours, so that made me feel good. Not all of them are people that grew up in POAs. They're not all heritage members or breeders, but they're all longtime members in good standing, and they're from different parts of the country, and they're all passionate about preserving history. So that is cool as well. So look for more information about the Heritage Foundation. We'll have pamphlets and things about that in time. And if you got anything about the museum that you think needs donated, eventually we're going to have to try to store it in Indianapolis, because I have 2 houses and they both have stuff in it, and I have a storage locker that I thought was only $60, and my wife said that was the introductory fee. It's went up way more than that, and it's got oil paintings and world trophies and reams of just paper and stuff from that's going to go, help the POAC museum. So very involved in that, and I think that'll be something just when people go to Indianapolis to visit the office, or when the conventions are there, that'll just be another thing that will be cool. So no one's commented in a while, or maybe they have. I got the thing down. I'm not looking at the new comments. There we go. You have more treasures waiting for you, and that's what I was going to get to. So Terry Thorson, I contacted him the other day. This is a cool story. I'm not going to tell all of it because this is going to be a podcast down the road. But there was some memorabilia and magazines and stuff and some trophies from the 9th member of the POAC. Just think of that. The 9th member of the POAC. There was a whole long shelf in a garage, and it was about ready to get tossed because I hadn't had time. It's been waiting on me for 7 months, and I haven't made it up to Iowa or Minnesota in that long. So finally, the new owner of the house, who's been guarding this stuff, it's not hers, but she had had a POA as a kid anyway, ironically. And she contacts me out of the blue and said, hey, some guy was supposed to come get this stuff, and he never showed up. And I admitted I was the guy. And so anyway, I called some people. I called Terry right away, Terry Thorson, and I said, hey, man, can you guys go get the stuff? And I call it the firm of Thorson, Phillips, and Roseland went and saved that stuff. And that would be Terry Thorson, Charlie Phillips, and Bob Roseland. While we were at convention on Saturday morning, getting ready for the membership meeting at 1, those 3 gentlemen made about a 2-hour trek in Terry's truck and loaded up stuff. Terry took some pictures. There's one of Charlie going through a catalog or an old magazine, because that stuff is cool. It's addicting to look at if you love POAs like those 3 gentlemen do. So they were nice enough to load that stuff back up and drive it back down to Terry's house and unload it, and now it's sitting for me to pick up in May when I'm going to happen to be up there for for some judging duties. So I'll swing by after I'm done judging and all that and pick it up, and I can't wait to go through all that stuff. It's going to be cool, and I guarantee you there will be stuff that makes the museum and that. So, and then some of the stuff I was looking, I think Jeremy Stevens in Kansas and myself both have a more complete set of sales catalogs than the national office has. So that's saying something. Jeremy's another historian, a friend of mine, and he's been collecting this stuff over the years. And if he gets something that he's got a double of and thinks I need it, he lets me know, and I've given him stuff over the years. So that's really cool. So I don't know if people realize how much we've dedicated to keep that stuff and preserve it. And I have some really, really cool stuff, like a painting, a paper tiger, an oil painting, and then, like I say, I got little things like a watch and things like that. I don't have many belt buckles, but the office has some cool belt buckles in their office now. So the office and the boardroom, they've done good. The people, the caretakers of that over the years, the membership that live close to Indianapolis, and the people, the paid employees that have worked in the office, to make that look cool. And the boardroom is almost a little museum now. It has information, books, in there and stuff like that. And the traveling trophies that are retired are in there. And of course, the Horn Mixer's hanging there in a big, beautiful frame. That's something to see. That's worth the trip to Indianapolis just to see that in person. The print doesn't do it justice. Everybody needs a print, and we have them. Contact Bill Harless and buy a print. You can get a signed and numbered one or just a plain one, a little cheaper. But when you see that original oil painting, that was like a $10,000 commission back in 30 years ago, you'll remember it. Just the eyes of the ponies and the color and the brush strokes, just like any artwork when you go see it in a museum. So that's hanging in the boardroom. Of course, it always will. That'll stay there. But we're just going to be able to hopefully add on to what they already have. Would love more sale catalogs. Been grabbing everyone we can find. Yep, I've sent you stuff over the years, Melissa. I sent Libby stuff when she was a little girl. I remember that. So Tracy said it's incredible. What did Monica say? Thanks so much for doing that. Yeah, she's being sarcastic a little bit because she's got a trip over it. So what did Jerry say? Hi, Kent, trying to get all my paperwork updated for my foals to be registered. And 20 I had to. Okay, that's cool. So we got quite a few comments here. I might have missed some accidentally as I was talking. Everyone should go to the office, Tracy said. And again, thanks Terry and the guys for getting all that stuff. And we will have a podcast about that. And I'll probably have Terry and Charlie and whoever wants to come on that podcast. If Bob happens to have time, he can even come on and we'll talk about their little trek up there and all the and then I'll show you some pictures once I get it. So that'll be down the road because I'm not going to get that stuff till May. So again, like I said, if you want to buy a book or a poster from the POA Club, the BJ Spar book's available. There's posters available. The Horn Mixer's available. If you want to get a Premier on a Premier Breeder Award, if you think your family's a bronze, diamond, all that stuff, you know, look, do some research and find out. You can do a lot of it yourself, or you can call the office. You know, there are some fees involved with that now, but you can call them and they'll help you out. Supremes, if your horse earned a Supreme, get it. That all helps POAs. It helps bring money in too. So, and then of course my book's still available privately. That's not through the POAC because they didn't pay for it or anything, but Monica and I sell those, spots included. So if you want one of those, we need to ship one out this week. I apologize. We got an order about a week before the convention. Just been so busy with everything else going on. I got to get that shipped out. So again, also the Select Sire Futurity. If you didn't catch it, you know, they did their second annual auction on that, a live auction. It's always been a sealed bid up till last year. So they were just trying to get some excitement and stuff. We realize it's not a slot futurity, but the board before I came on, or the committee or whatever, decided to do that as an auction because other people have success doing that. But there is some stallions available, so please check that out. Contact who you need to there because there are some Select Sire stallions, and we want to keep the futurity growing too. So what else do I need to talk about here? Hopefully I'm not boring you guys too much. I knew this would be more of a straight up, you know, just me looking at the camera, no pictures, no guests tonight, but we did have a lot of stuff to cover from the meetings. In the membership meeting went well. And the banquet, you see the pictures online. I don't know how many people were in attendance, but it looked like 70 or so. Of course, when you're on one side of things, you always, you know, you count the janitor and the caterer and whoever, which none of those people were there, by the way. But you count everybody when you're counting attendance. So, but I think there was probably 70 or so POA people in attendance. So Jan says everyone needs your book, Kent. Well, thank you, Jan. It's getting a little outdated now, but it's not outdated. You know, I buy books all the time that were written long before I was born. So this one's still cool. And that brings me to some other things I was going to talk about. So, you know, I drove 11 hours or whatever Thursday up to Indianapolis, then had the long board meeting Friday. Saturday was a pretty easy day. We had the cool membership meeting. No one was irate at anybody. I've been in membership meetings before where they waggled their finger at directors and said we weren't doing enough or we screwed up or whatever, and they lost something because of us. So this was really nice to have not something like that, not big blowback from the membership that was in attendance, because I think they realize the volunteers are trying their best. And so anyway, and then I drove home Sunday with Monica and Stella, and Stella slept most of the time. Monica slept some of the time, so I'm surprised I made it on here tonight with those two long trips, but it's fun. But I thought I'd be really tired after the board meeting, but I only slept about 2 hours because I was so pumped up about where I think POAs is headed, and I think we're promotion and growth is just on the verge. I know we say this over and over, but I hope POA is just. It's cool to be a big fish in a small pond, but I wish we had a huge lake. And I think POA can get there eventually. Wouldn't that be cool if we had 5,000 members, or was registering 1,000 to 1,500 again, and having, maybe not 19 stallions in a class like they did in the 70s. That's wow. We only have 17 or so males show up at the show now, stallions and colts total. And I understand it's harder to show nowadays and stuff, and a lot of other things are going on for kids, but we do have adults now showing, so that opens up the avenues for more things and more numbers. But why I was awake Friday night after the meeting, and I found all my new energy and time, I just started making a list of podcast ideas sitting there on the couch. I started watching, I don't know, some movie, Fantastic Four. Monica and Stella was sleeping. I turned off the movie and just started writing down. So Schuylkill Valley POA Club, definitely going to do a podcast maybe as soon as next week on that. Also, the Northwest region will be having a podcast about the Pacific Northwest, in the clubs, Washington and Idaho, and those clubs out there, how they're smaller clubs, what they do to survive, and how they keep promoting POAs. Some other ideas I had, of course, Spencer's. That's my dream episode. I have a couch over here and a chair and a stool and a nice chair over there that looks just like this one. So I could bring the Spencer family in here, talk about a cool family. I talked to Dave just the other night, and of course I see Roz at shows and stuff, and just their whole family story, and they're still very active showing with Dave's grandkids, and of course all the beautiful ponies they raise. So they're not that far from Enid now, especially with Roz and her family living closer to Stillwater or in Stillwater. So that's an idea for a podcast. And then some other ideas I had: Kevin Jewell, famous horse person, grew up in POAs. Tanner Oz, he's a well-known rodeo rider. Everybody that follows Western sports knows who Tanner Oz is. Well, his grandma and grandpa are legends in POAs. Carl is in the Hall of Fame. Just seen his picture the other day. Ken Wills, of course, the great Colorado breeding program. Some POA kids that grew up. Antone was such a good interview. I thought maybe like David Wood, Tony Depew, guys like that, if you guys are watching. And I know you got buddies that may want to come on here. And then, of course, there was tens of thousands of girls. If you want to come on here and tell your story, even if it's just one little story, a 20-minute story, contact me on Facebook. Hit me up. Tell me, hey, you want to come on? And, Sonny Duke, so the Chernegas, big part of Florida and POA history. So they could come on and talk about things for sure. And then like Rutledge's, of course, we will have more trivia. I'm scheduling one maybe for around April 30th. And then Cutest Baby Contest will be coming up. This will be the 3rd annual Cutest Baby Contest. Looking forward to that. People seem to like that episode. And then, of course, once I get the Murfeld memorabilia that's coming from Iowa, from Terry, Charlie, and Bob making that trip. Once I go through all that, I know enough about Murfelds already to do an episode, but I might as well wait to get all their personal stuff from POA and do a really nice episode on Ed Murfeld family. Of course, they raised their kids in POAs. Hopefully some's watching. Both boys have passed away now, Alan and Doug. But Doug came back into POAs with his wife Tracy, and they actually raised some more good MPs decades later from when he showed as a youth. So that's just a lot of ideas to do podcasts. If I never missed a week, that would take us to almost June. Actually, it would be probably June, yes, close to it. So, but I am going to have to take some weeks off. I do have 5 judging responsibilities so far. All POA. I haven't got contacted for any fairs this year, but they usually wait the last minute. And I told them, when I start picking up my judging cards now, you need to contact me earlier. So we'll see. Last year I'd done a fair 3 years in a row at a county 70 miles from here. And it's a Friday night show. It runs from about 6 to 10. All 3 years I got done at 10 o'clock, within a minute or two of each other, all 3 years. I was proud of that. And they contacted me about a month before, just kind of assuming that I'd do it again. And I'd already contracted to do a POA show in Texas, so I just couldn't do it. But I want to judge breed shows, of course, and I'm going to try to get my other cards like Pinot and Mini and Appaloosa, and maybe even someday, if I'm lucky and work hard enough, I can get a quarter horse card. So I'm actually going to write an article called "Don't Judge Me," and I'm going to try to put it in Tammy Verzi's year-end magazine next year, and it's going to be about the story of me becoming a judge, and how I started judging when I was 15 years old, and then how I created a judging team. And I didn't really have much advising going on because they were dairy girls, 2 different dairy women from Wisconsin, and they were first job out of college. One lasted my first year, and then she moved on to a different school. And then actually she was the first 2 years. Then my senior year, I had another like 23-year-old that didn't know much about horses and didn't know the rules, and sometimes I had to make the call as an 18-year-old senior to see if we could get into these judging events. So, and I recruited everybody on the team, and we tried to train each other. So that's all going to be, a lot of people don't know that story. They know the story about me doing history stuff and showing, and of course Kiddo Tough, my family had him, but judging's always been a big part of my life. I just felt like it was a little conflict trying to judge when I had POAs in the ring and I was so close friends with people. I'm still close friends with people, but I haven't bred or owned any in over 10 years, so I won't let that influence me. And my friends can tell you, as I get ribbed on once in a while, I don't let the friends bother me either, because I look at the horse. So of course in equitation, those are usually kids and stuff I don't know anyway. So, but in the halter classes, I'm looking at the horse. So I judged 3 shows last year. Anyway, I don't want to make this all about me, but it is my podcast. So again, I want to thank Monica and Stella for being with me at Congress. They made it fun. I want to thank Tammy Verzi for once again putting out this great year-end magazine. There is some talk. Bill would like to see it, expand and go back to maybe 4 times a year like they did for a while. I wish we could do 11, but I know you're not going to get this beautiful and as thick as magazine. People may not be able to afford to put in these beautiful ads 11 times a year, so then you'd get some wafer thin ones, and we don't want to do that. So, but at least we're at this point in time, we have this beautiful year-end magazine with the title it's had for a long time, POA. That's its official title. Like it says, the official publication of the Pony of the Americas Club. So again, thanks for that, Tammy. The East and West World, I'm actually going to put a poll and some questions on the director's page. There's a Mid-America director's page. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I'm going to ask you guys some questions. We got some things coming down the road about different show bills at shows. We actually discussed that already, but we need to hash some things out about East and West World and their show bills about being similar. And then there's a lip chain or lip cord proposal coming up. We also, Tracy and the Breeders Committee report, it was voted on at the board meeting about half Arabian and Anglo-Arab not being an approved outcross anymore. The board did vote, and it won't be an official outcross anymore. I think we put a date, and Tracy can help me on this, but there was like a date of March 1st or something. We're going to have to get that word out. But of course, in the next year, none of that, because we're just, the breed standards evolved over the years, and we don't know some of those things. When you get the word half in there, like Tracy said, you don't know what some of that other half is. And we have a lot of color rules and stuff, so we just got to be careful with that. So, well, you just thanked her for me, Tracy. So, but of course, Lindsay does a great job. She is a paid employee. She's a contract labor, but she does go above and beyond. But Lindsay Zahm, I don't know where she finds the time to do all that stuff. She runs a great place up there with her mom and dad and has a whole bunch of stallions and shows babies and horses. And then, of course, she helps us out in the office. So, yes, thank her. So, Tracy did say 3/24. So that will be the beginning of March. You won't. So if you were planning to breed to an Anglo-Arab or a half Arabian, to outcross to your POA, that won't be available. Hi again from Australia. Hi, that might be John. Gay's already on there. So Melissa Andring said a beautiful magazine. It is. Let's see. Great magazine. I missed a few comments. So need Dave Spencer and Jan Jones Nolan for Murfeld episode. Of course, I did have Jan Jones Nolan here in person, her and her husband Brian, and Jackson's Auto Family sponsored that episode. They paid for him to be in a hotel. They didn't ask for it. Jones didn't. I just said that we'd do it, and I was going to do it myself through sponsorships that people have given me over the years. And when Shane Jackson, the general manager here, found out about it, he said, well, Jackson's will put them up in a hotel. Just let them know it's from the dealership. So that's why we get to
come join the family.
Play that little thing right there. So Ashley McKenzie's been here a couple times, you know, so if you can make it live, hey, I can't pay for a plane ticket from Washington or Maryland or somewhere, or Tracy from Florida. If I could, I'd fly Tracy in here. She makes a lot of comments anyway, like you're live sitting right next to me, so you could be sitting right over there. But if you can make it to Enid, Oklahoma, come and be a guest. So Murfeld ponies, yeah. Dave knows a lot about Murfelds because, of course, he was in Oklahoma and went to Stillwater just like Roz did, and Murfelds went to Oklahoma State. So actually, the head wrestling coach Myron Roderick, I think it was Okie Dokie or something like that, POAs. He had some britches, horses, and stuff. He bred for some good POAs, but he's a Hall of Famer in wrestling, and he was for coaching, and he was a great wrestler himself, Myron Roddick. Well, he coached Murfeld in college, and that was around Dave Spencer's time, so he knew all those guys. Of course, he grew up together with Dave Spencer and Doug Murfeld are around the same age and grew up in POA. So, yep, there's always people I can have on. So if you think of people, you just got to get them to volunteer. We volunteer people all the time. I know I get volunteered for a lot of things, and sometimes I don't know what it is. People will ask me, you know, can you identify this horse? His name's Spot, and he has one spot, and he's about 14 hands. He was born in Kansas in 1999. You know, I don't know who Spot is, but I'll try my best, you know, and that's just part of it. That's fun. So Gay says, I'll see you. Let's see. I will have to see if we can get a copy. And okay. Hi, Tommy. Crap. Crap, I just bought a half. Quarter ass out. Okay, well, sorry to break the news to you, but that was one of the rules that come out of the board meeting. Not rules, but something we voted on. So, all right, I think I've covered the Congress. The convention. Remember sponsorships for the Congress, and if you can attend the Congress, Tulsa's a cool location. Of course, I'm just on the road, so I'm a little biased, but I'm also a director of this region. So, you know, but if people tell me, if 100 people tell me they don't want it in Tulsa and 5 people tell me they do want it in Tulsa, I would change my vote. So, but I'll just tell you right now, I support having the Congress in Tulsa. So talking about Congress, you know, over the years, I did these leading sires and breeders lists. There's so many newer people to POA. Some of them might not even know what these are. It's a little niche group that follow these. You know, there's a lot of people like Jeremy Stevens has a lot of it memorized. A lot of breeders love these things. Ken Steele was behind it, loved these things. Jerry King sat on the edge of the bed at a convention and went through every single entry in the stallion list and the breeders list. So if you haven't heard about this, you can contact me. I have had podcasts about this, but I haven't updated these. Melissa follows them. Yeah, me, I follow them. So that, you know, she's a little newer person, been around quite a while now, right, Melissa? But you know, you're not 40 years in POA. So a lot of the old timers liked it because guess what? They're on here. You know, they're stallions on here. But all the classes started, it just kind of changed a little bit. Not all the classes, but we started adding open classes. And I'll tell you, I wasn't on the board, but I didn't like when horses came to the Congress. And I get why they did it, to raise money. It's a fundraiser, and they are raising money doing it. So, but when that happened, I quit updating the list. It was just getting so hard And then like the stud books, they raised them to $40 or whatever. And here I am, I got to buy the stud books, and I'm doing this, volunteering, because I don't make money on this unless I sold them. These are copyrighted. So by the way, please don't take a screenshot of this and send it to somebody, because these are officially copyrighted. They've been copyrighted since 1993, and they're also POAC board approved. So they're POAC official. That happened probably 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. So they are official results. They just haven't been updated. So we have 20. Yep, Smoky Pants Gay. I knew you'd recognize him. 21, 22, and 23. I'm behind, and I wasn't going to update them. I did 20, and I said, well, there we go. I did the first year of 2020, a new decade, and I'll just leave it at that. But I've had people even approach my wife and tell her, boy, I wish Kent would make these. And there's a group of breeders. I know there's a lot of breeders in Iowa and all over that are still around, and like Melissa up in Minnesota, that would love to see these. Now what you're seeing right here is 3 years old, so this is going to change. I would guess the Silver Kid probably has, since I've been to all the congresses since I stopped doing this, I would bet he probably has 30 or 40 more wins. Kiddo and Tough Plotted, not so much, because they've both been passed away for a while, along with the others up there. But Chocolatey probably have way more wins than he's got there. He'll probably be moving on up. So, and then there's some stallions lower down here. Kiddo Bounce, of course, had a grand champion mare a couple times. Well, 3 times, but one's in that list right there in those numbers. And then 22 and 21 and 22 wouldn't be. But you know, this goes on all the way down to 1. I started this in 1993. I was born in 72, so let's see, I was 21 years old when I come up with the idea to do this, because no one had any kind of leading list like this in POAs. We just didn't have a leading sire or breeders list. So here's the breeders list right here. Again, of course, this will change. Unfortunately, our top 3 breeders now are all passed away, and they might not be the top 3 breeders now. Damon probably is ahead. Dean Damon and his family are probably ahead of Puffenbarger. They may even be ahead of everybody. So I'd have to check and see. So just kind of a cool list there. And Patrick, of course, that's Suncrest. I know Doc Demers and Katzenbergers both have wins, and more wins on there. I don't think my family has any more wins. I'm trying to read it cross-angled here, and I'm missing the numbers. They're way off. But of course, you have the Kennedys on there, and Krugers from Minnesota. That's a few families put together. Somebody just mentioned Jan Jones Nolan. Well, there's her mom and dad, Art and Carrie Jones, and then, or Rocky Jones, I mean, and then of course the Jan Jones Nolan is still breeding caddos, so she's up there with 94, and I bet she's got some more wins. So keep in mind, this is stagnant, this list. This is static. It stopped in 2020, and certain classes don't count, because you got to remember, when I started this in 93, first I did 1980 to 93 and just seen kind of how it looked. And then I went back and had to find magazines and stuff. Yeah, Monica, there's very time consuming. We're talking about days. I mean, hours, 10 hours a day for days to do this, because you got to look up stuff. And, you got to get the show results, first of all, either out of the magazine or from the office. And then you got to make sure you count the right classes, because like the McLaren Futurity wasn't always at the Congress, so I didn't count that. The Leonard Lewis Futurity didn't exist when I did this. So it was just a young kid, me, all by myself with no guidance, and I just did it on my own. And are there some mistakes in there? I might have made some mistakes. The magazine over the years, of course, had mistakes. Registers over the years have had mistakes that I maybe didn't catch or no one else ever caught. And then just other mistakes could be too. The show results could have a mistake, let alone the magazine printing the show results. But I would say they're 99% accurate when you count the thousands and thousands of things that are in there, thousands of hours of information just loaded. And it's something that we can use for a guide, just to who's breeding what, this and that. And even if you're down on the list, don't be embarrassed or anything, because a lot of people that are down on the list, I remember when I started this list, Dammons were nowhere near fourth. They were nowhere near on the first page. Doc Demers wasn't sixth. And those guys both had been breeding for decades and decades when I started this list. Well, a couple decades, right? 70s, 80s, and early 90s, so a couple decades. And look at them now. So there's people, I know chestnuts are higher on the list now than 24th. Rutledge hasn't bred anything in a long time, so they're going to be right there at 58. They didn't move. Bishop, St. Nick's, there hasn't been anything in years. So Leo and Leanne Hawk, they've, I'm sure, went up. So stuff like that. You know, you got M. Slayton there. That's Melissa Slayton. One of the big reasons she's up there, of course, is because Jess Drisch's stallion Manny, you know, he's bred by her, and he wins stuff pretty much every year. There's McLaren's. Futurity's named after them. We mentioned Spencer Livestock. Oh, I don't have the screen on. Sorry, guys. You're looking at my face. But anyway, you've seen it earlier. So I just I got so excited at the convention that I decided to update those lists. So I think I'm only missing maybe one stud book. I have the newest stud book because I helped do some editing in it. And I have probably 3 copies of most of the stud books, but some of the modern ones I think I'm missing. So I'm either going to get those or I'll just call the office and get the information. And Tracy mentioned Lindsay Zahm earlier. Lindsay mentioned in the meeting, the board of directors meeting, as she sits as a director with me, that she probably could get those lists for me with all those classes taken out, the open classes, the classes with horses, because there's no way I'm going to count a class that has a horse in it. So anyway, if you guys have any questions about that, that's a good breeding tool and a good promoting tool. I know the Silver Kid, that's helped him being the #1 sire for so long. He outdid the horse my family raised, which is his grandsire, and we raised the Silver Kid's mother, or brother, Kid's double sweet. So Corey Damon bought her when she was young and ended up breeding the Silver Kid. So, you know, it's kind of cool to see these lists, and you can go back on the podcast and watch episodes about the breeders list and the sires list. There's 2 different episodes, and I break it down way in depth because it's a lot of names on there. There's almost 1,000 breeders and sires on there now because every time a POA wins a class, I would look up who the sire was and who the breeder was. Well, every year there's so many new stallions and so many new breeders every year. There's never been a year that there wasn't a new breeder or new sire. Keep that in mind. And I'm talking from not since I've updated, there hasn't been for sure. So since I've updated that every year from 93 up to 2000, every year after the show, I would update it. And now I need to do 21, 22, and 23 together. I might have to do that when Monica's on a cruise or something, because that's going to be a lot. She's going to be a widow that week while I do that. So the sires list is important too. Yes, it is. And I had the sires list up here, Tracy. Maybe you missed it, but that's actually my favorite, is the sires list, more than the breeders list. So there that is again. So there's the Silver Kid, Kiddo Tough, Tough Plotted, representing different parts of the country. Paper Tiger, Chief Little Britches. Of course, I'm a Silver Royal. HMH Super Socks from the McKenzie family helped him. So sometimes one horse can bounce a stallion or a breeder way up there. And I had critics over the years tell me, well, why didn't you put how many it was? And why did you do this? Why didn't you do a dams list? Why didn't you do the world show? And I'm like, okay, you know, it's like, you just got to take it with a grain of salt. But it's like, again, I was a 20-year-old kid sitting on a couch instead of going out for all those weekends it took me to compile this. I sat on a couch figuring out this stuff. And now it's become official for POAC, but I still own it. It's owned by me, and I just wish more people would, like this stuff, because then I would know I would do it. But I'm gonna do it now after the convention was so positive. I get bogged down at my work here selling automobiles and helping manage a dealership like this. You can get bogged down right now. Interest rates are high, credit is low. Man, you can get really negative, but we all walk around here positive. We all positive. And that's what I think POAC is doing good right now. I think we need who was it, Jelly Roll or somebody, whoever that I don't listen to, but I heard the saying anyway over the years. You know, the rear view mirror is this big. The windshield is this big. Look out the windshield and don't look out so much the rear view. And I know that's funny coming from a historian, but history is just the way so we don't repeat history sometimes too. We need to know what we did. Sometimes we don't want to do that. We want to do different things. So just keep all that in mind. Well, guys, I've been on here about an hour. I want to thank all the comments and all the people have watched the show. Again, if it says Facebook user, I'm sorry I didn't call out your name, but some people did. One good pony really bumps things up. That's right. One good pony really bumps things up. The Crisco Kid was won 60 classes for my family. So we have 100 and some wins. Well, 60 of them was one horse. But if you took him away, my family would still have 40 some wins and we'd still be probably on the first page. So, but he helped propel us, you know, that people wanted a horse like the Crisco Kid. And there's other breeders like that too. Like Tudor Bars won 59 classes. The Crisco Kid beat his record. And now these are unofficial records because I haven't kept up the last 3 years. There might be a POA with more records, more. And I don't keep individual horse records. I wish I would have did that too. That's something I wish I would have did. But Tudor Bars, I know how many he won because his breeder really wasn't his breeder. Lynn Puffenberger borrowed a mare, but he didn't officially lease it. So a person that probably wasn't even a member of POAC is down being the breeder of Tudor Bars. And because he owned the mare, a grade mare that Lynn Puffenberger bred to Salty 3 Bars, and that named Toots, and that's where Tudor Bars came from. So cool stuff like that. That's cool history to me. I eat this stuff up. I know Tracy Keene does, and Jeremy, Melissa does. Her daughter Libby loves this kind of stuff. Terry and Bob Rosen and Charlie and all those guys, a lot of the breeders, they all love this history like this and the pedigrees and the facts. You know, what's siring what over the years and what breeders did what. Instead of just ads and word of mouth, this you can actually put the numbers to it. So it just kind of speaks volumes of who's done what over the years. So, yep, Melissa, maybe you can come next year. Who knows? It might be, who knows where it'll be. It'll probably be in Indianapolis, but we don't know. So get your bids in for things. If you want to see something done, contact Bill Harless, contact your representative, which is a director. So, you know, I'm in Area 5 now. I used to be in Area 4, serving them for 6 years. Now this is my first year on the board serving Area 5, which is the Mid-America region. And so if you guys have any questions or anything like that or concerns, please contact us, and especially contact me if you're in my region, and I'll be happy to try to answer your questions. I'm wringing my hands here because I'm about done with the show. But Jan says I'm deeply loving all this stuff too. Yeah, Jan Rogers is another one. Dean and I used to have so many times. One of the first things I did when I walked in the board room, which is the Hall of Fame room, I call it, in Indianapolis, out of the corner of my eye, I seen Dean over there, and I just pulled out my phone, squared up to his picture, took a picture and sent it to Jan. And I didn't mean to make her cry or anything, but I said, I'm thinking of my old friend and missing all our conversations this Friday morning before the meeting. And we used to have a lot of, we wouldn't even have many political conversations about POAs. It was usually just deep breeding questions. So blackhand and beyond at gmail.com. Okay, that's Monica. Is that the email you want to use? Okay. And Gay said, I'm coming. Let's see. I'm coming as Tracy Sweet. Okay. Strapper and travel companion. Gay, yeah, that's in Australia, and you're going to be the strapper, huh? The groom. Yeah, I've watched Far Lap, so I know what a strapper is. So, all right, I want to thank Gay from Australia. John, I believe he's watching tonight from Australia. All the people across the United States that's watching tonight. I'm going to try to post pictures of Shoto, Hall of Fame plaque, Tudor Bars, and the Crisco Kid. So between those three, respectfully, they won 54, 59, and 60 classes, and those are official because they haven't won any, of course, since I stopped doing it. So that's a lot of wins. So I'm going to give a shout out to those three geldings. Maybe tonight or tomorrow you'll see that on the POA history group. So thanks everybody for watching and all your comments. Thanks for all you do for POA and keeping it alive. I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 6:30 Central Standard Time. Enjoy the song.